Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second ANCP webinar for the year. I'm Vicky at Ethics Learning Team. Before we start, we need to test the sound track. Now, can I please have someone to type into the chat area to confirm the sound is coming through? For better sound quality, it will be helpful if you close all background applications, including the Outlook. Oh, thank you. So I'll now quickly go through some housekeeping matters. Today's webinar will be recorded and uploaded to Ethics YouTube channel. I'll send everyone a follow-up email with a link to the video and copy of the slides. As the webinar goes, please feel free to type in your questions in the chat area. Our speaker may address your questions as she goes or at the end of the presentation. And at the end of the webinar, please stay and complete a quick survey. It has only 5 questions. Without further ado, I'll hand over to our speaker, Annabelle Wood, Communications Manager in the DFAT ANCP team.
Thanks, Vicky. Hi, everyone, and welcome from me too to our ANCP Communications webinar. Today, I'm going to take you through Section 8 of the ANCP Manual. This is the section that covers everything you need to know about acknowledging the Australian Government through your ANCP projects. As with the rest of the manual, it is updated yearly, so it covers any changes or questions raised in the previous year. And as you all know, it was just updated last month, so hot off the press. Section 8 covers branding, what is the correct branding and how to apply it, written and verbal acknowledgement, standard wording that you need to use in your communication materials and during speeches and interviews, matched funding and accreditation, standard wording to use when referring to ANCP funding match or your accreditation status, social media requirements, including the relevant hashtags and handles, and our expectations on how you create and share ANCP-related content. It also provides information on broader acknowledgement, such as ensuring beneficiaries understand that the Australian Government is supporting your work, and talking to Australian officials about how the program works and your achievements as ANCP partners. Section 8 also provides information about engaging with Australian High Commissions and Embassies, which we all know as posts. Please type in any questions, as Vicky said, as they come up, and I'll answer them as we go along. And of course, if there's any I can't answer, I'll take them on notice and get back to you. Starting on page 32 of the manual, the section outlines our 3 acknowledgement clauses. Firstly, ANCP NGOs must acknowledge the support of the Australian Government for their ANCP funded work. Acknowledgement is a contractual requirement and all NGOs should adhere to these guidelines. Secondly, acknowledgement applies to everything referring to the program. So this includes things like project signage, publications, annual reports, events, websites, stories, articles, media releases, features, interviews, etc. Essentially, if you're referencing a project that is funded by the ANCP, you need to provide an acknowledgement. The final clause is that acknowledgement should be upfront and obvious. First and foremost, this is for transparency. Being upfront and obvious means the public in Australia or overseas are clearly and immediately informed of the extent of Australia's contribution. Which leads me to branding, which increases the accountability and transparency of Australia's aid program. The correct branding for all ANCP funded projects is the Australian Aid Identifier, the kangaroo. The Australian Aid Identifier must be used on all aid-related products and activities funded by the ANCP. Now, there are some occasions, such as if a partner government logo is to appear alongside the identifier, that additional logos should appear alongside it. There is also a special situation in place for projects being implemented in PNG. Again, Section 8 of the manual explains what to do in these special circumstances, and if you have any questions at any time, please reach out to the team. Another time to contact the team around branding is if you request an exemption from branding or acknowledgement. The team can grant a branding exemption if there is a compelling case or identified security risk. All the versions of the Australian Aid Identifier and any other logos you may need on any occasion are available from download from the Logos and Style Guide page on the DFAT website. And the manual includes the link as well. Sorry, there was a question. So is that the final logo to use, the Australian identifier that's on this page? Yes, that's the logo that we ask that you use. The manual includes standard wording for written acknowledgement, match funding, and accreditation. It provides 4 options for written acknowledgement, 2 for accreditation, and 2 for match funding. You can see one example of each of these on the screen now. Example 1 is a written acknowledgement. In addition to using the branding, the 8 identifier on the previous page, you also need to write a written acknowledgement. This is obviously in most cases. Signage is an obvious exception, but we're just looking for the identifier. All communications materials that reference your ANCP project should include a written acknowledgement. Written materials include, but are not limited to, publications such as annual reports and brochures, electronic presentations such as PowerPoint slides, digital media such as video clips, blogs, websites and social media, and communications to draw media attention such as media releases. Example 2 is text for NGOs who want to mention their accreditation through DFAT. Example 3 is text for NGOs who want to acknowledge ANCP funding in their publications. Annual grants received by NGOs can vary and are dependent upon a number of factors, including total ANCP budget, number of NGOs at the program, and the ID averages of each accredited NGO. So the wording around match funding must not imply that the Australian government will match all public contributions, as it is not technically correct. We really need the wording to accurately reflect how ANCP funding is allocated. For this reason, we ask if you use one of the statements we provided in the manual or check any variations with the ANCP team. Now to social media, where we need you to demonstrate the value and achievements of the Australian Aid Program in your social media content. Opportunities for communicating about the Australian Aid Program and the ANCP can take many forms, including those listed here and also on page 34 of the manual. Where possible, social media posts should focus on concrete achievements and results and highlight the priorities in the 2017 Foreign Policy White Paper. Please also note that we respect your independence to communicate about the Australian Aid Program in other ways, including any advocacy, campaigns or fundraising activities. We have no comments or requirements as to how these actions are carried out. What we are asking in the manual is that when you reference an ANCP project outcome, event, visit or similar online, that you are transparent that it is an Australian Aid funded project and show your support of this program by referencing it in your social media posts. We have 2 hashtags that we use and we ask that you use them too. When referencing anything that receives ANC support, NGOs should use the hashtag AustralianAid. This is our brand and our primary hashtag. ANCP related social media should also include the hashtag ANCP. This confirms that ANCP supports that project and allows us to monitor, capture and engage with ANCP content online. We also ask that you include our primary handle at DFAT or our secondary handle at AusHumanitarian. The combination of handles and hashtags will allow us to cross-promote your content and further the reach. Our preference in the text of your social media posts includes some explanation of ANCP support, and that it is worded into content naturally rather than a point at the end. I've provided 2 examples here, and there's more in the manual. Alternatively, if that's not possible, just include the hashtags and handles at the end of your tweet. And also, please encourage your implementing partners to use these hashtags and handles where appropriate. The ANCP team runs a yearly social media schedule, and you'll be asked to contribute to this schedule each year. The schedule coordinates ANCP content for International Days and DFAT social media campaigns. It produces content for a number of DFAT social media accounts, and the accounts that we use are listed on your screen now. In July this year, you'll be asked to supply 3 social media posts for the 2019-20 financial year. Submissions to be sent as final drafts and in the style of other DFAT ANCP Australian Aid posts, so you can see the accounts listed here for examples of the kind of content that we're looking for. NGOs are also encouraged to send country-specific content to relevant posts. In all cases, NGOs are asked to amplify our messages by sharing all DFAT social media that includes your NGO's handle. This is a requirement in the manual that I'd like to emphasise here. Sorry, did you say 1819? Yeah. No, we're already in 1819, so we're currently just answering the question that's come up that did I say 1819? We're already running with that social media schedule now. We're kind of coming towards the end of it. So this July, again, we'll go out asking for content after you put your ad plans in. Consider the time that there's a bit more time for NGOs to put some attention to communications, and they will be for use in the 1920 financial year. So we use July to collect them, and then from August until June in 2020, we'll be putting out that content. So a summary of this social media section. NGOs, we ask that you post positive stories that highlight the great work that you are doing under the ANCP. Use those ANCP-related hashtags and handles. Contribute to the ANCP social media schedule, I just mentioned, and share all DFAT posts that include your NGO's handle. We also ask that you comment on DFAT posts that include your NGO's handle, and this is a really good way also to acknowledge your implementing partners in country by being able to hashtag and reference them and use their handles at that point. And follow all relevant DFAT social media accounts and keep up to date with our latest news. It's another question. If we are planning to post about a DFAT monitoring visit on our social media accounts, would you expect we have to run the post past you for approval? No, you don't need to get our approval for your social media posts. That's fine. If there's anything you have any concerns about, obviously come to us. But as far as sort of referencing, an event, a visit, that's absolutely okay. But again, if you have any concerns about what you're posting, just reach out. Okay, I've covered the what and how, and now I'll cover the why. We want to work together to get Australian aid messages out to the Australian public. Why? Because we need to collectively demonstrate the value of the aid program and work to shift attitudes around aid. We want to ensure the longevity of this program by clearly showing what can be achieved with ANCP support. The more positive stories that help us highlight the great work being done, the better. We all need to be promoting Australian aid achievements, what this unique, substantial global program does, and why. We think, and we know you do too, that ANCP offers fantastic opportunities for communicating about the Australian aid program. We need you to support this program, to support our content, and start your own as well. Those who have been involved in the refresh of ANCP's program logic will know that we are working together on a third outcome as part of the program logic, one that recognises the importance of ANCP NGOs communicating about the program's impact to audiences in Australia and overseas. And the logic is very much still under development, and the ANCP team, particularly the M&E team who are leading it, look forward to working with the NGOs on its development. So there's another question that says, does it mean that we have freedom to post any work that is funded by ANCP in social media? Yes, please do. Because we're really keen to see examples through social media of your work that's being funded by the ANCP. So now I've just got some examples of the kind of posts that we're encouraging, which is the positive content that clearly acknowledges our relationship and support. We encourage content that has links to videos and articles, so for more information. I've included examples for Twitter here only, mainly because the brevity of them and it's easier to show examples than sort of slightly longer Facebook or Instagram posts. But this is the kind of messaging we're looking for across all of your social media channels. And I'm sure I don't need to say, but just stress the importance always of a great photo in your submissions to our schedule and in your own posts. It's really the photos that are grabbing people's attention. We will assess how you acknowledge the program in your performance reports. There is a header form requirement called Acknowledgement of Program Participation and Partnership, and this section asks for links to examples of where you've publicly communicated about the achievements of our ANCP partnership. There is also a project form requirement. Again, here we request links to online content or other examples where you have acknowledged the support of the Australian Government through your ANCP funded project. And finally, in your performance reports, we also ask for a case study. Now it's 1 strong, it used to be 3, but now 1 strong case study to demonstrate the impact of your ANCP funded work. Section 8 of the manual also has some information about engaging with posts. We encourage you and your implementing partners to establish and maintain contact with relevant posts. We have designated ANCP focal points at each post, obviously where ANCP projects are being implemented. Due to the rotation of responsibilities at posts, we do keep these contacts on file and we'll share with you as requested. So just reach out to us if at any point you need to current post details. We recommend that you provide posts with as much notice as possible when requesting meetings and provide a clear purpose and agenda for the meeting. If necessary, we can also provide guidance on your approach to post. So please contact us if you need any engagement advice or any support if you've reached out to post and are not having a response. Posts are engaged in the review of annual development plans, ad plans, and it is beneficial for you to discuss any new project designs or any significant project changes with post prior to your ad plan submission. Implementing partners are of course encouraged to engage with post on public diplomacy opportunities and increase the exposure of activities and attendance at events, launches and other forums. I'll finish with this sneak peek of our ANCP brochure, which is due to arrive in our office today. So hopefully when I get back it will be there. Our PDF version will go up on our website this month, and if you'd like any copies to distribute amongst your networks, please do get in touch. You'll see the front page and a full graphic of all our NGO participants. So finally, if you have any communications questions at any time, please do email them to the ANCP inbox and I will be in touch. Thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to your continued support in communicating about the value and achievements of this fantastic program. Happy to take any more questions now as well.
Thanks, Annabelle, and thanks to everyone for joining the webinar. Our next ANCP webinar will be on the 7th of May, and the topic is Annual Development Plan. Registration is now open. Now please stay and complete a quick survey. Thanks, everyone.